Hello everyone and welcome to my latest Postgres Quickie. In my last Postgres Quickie I have shown you how easy it is to run Postgres inside a Docker container, and today I want to continue that discussion by showing you how you can run Postgres inside a virtual machine. For today's demonstration, I have created a blank, fresh Linux Ubuntu virtual machine, and we will install their Postgres. As you will see in the first step, we have to add the apt repository for Postgres, then we will install Postgres, and afterwards we also have to make a few configuration changes to Postgres so that Postgres will be also accessible from the network. So let's switch over now to the command shell and let's install and configure Postgres inside a virtual machine that is running Linux Ubuntu. So let's have a look now how we can install and configure Postgres in a virtual machine. I have already deployed here a virtual machine which is running Linux Ubuntu 24.04. I'm using here the Exascale Cloud, which is a public cloud provider based in Europe, in Switzerland, and as you can see, I'm already connected here to the SSH shell, and I want to install now in the first step Postgres. When you go to PostgreSQL.org to download and to Linux Ubuntu, you see in the first step that you have to configure the apt repository for Postgres. Postgres provides you here the Postgres common package, which you can install, and afterwards you can execute that sh script which configures the repository so that we can afterwards install Postgres. So let's do that. Let's install in the first step the common package. So we do that. Takes a few seconds. And now, after we have installed that package, we just run that script. As you can see, you have to run it with sudo. This is also very important. We press enter to continue, and now the script has configured the Postgres apt repository for us. Means in the next step it's not quite easy. We do a sudo apt install PostgreSQL dash and now the version that you want to install. In my case, it's now January 2026. Our current version is Postgres 18, so let's pass in here dash 18 to install the latest, greatest release of Postgres. This just takes a few seconds, not that long, depending on the speed of your internet connection, which is in that virtual machine amazingly fast. And now we are already finished. With just a few commands, we have installed Postgres. Let's check that if Postgres is running. We are using here the systemctl command, status PostgreSQL, and as you can see, the status is active, which means Postgres is running. We can also check with the bsql command if Postgres is up and running just by running a simple query against our Postgres installation. So as you can see, I'm using here the bsql command and I'm just doing a show data directory. I'm just dumping out a configuration option of Postgres, and as you can see, we get back a result. Means that's also the proof that Postgres is up and running. By now, Postgres is only able to accept client connections from localhost. Means I'm currently connected here directly to the virtual machine where Postgres is running. Means I can run here bsql, but as soon as I want to connect to Postgres from outside of that virtual machine, we have further configure Postgres, which we will do now in the next step. The first thing that we have to do is that we have to set a password for the Postgres user. I'm using here the PSQL command line utility to run SQL statements against Postgres. So as you can see, we are connected now to the Postgres database, and we just do here an alter user Postgres, and we set our password to a new one. I'm using here a very simple password, doesn't really matter, but as you can see, we have altered that role, we have altered the Postgres user, means the Postgres user has now a password. So this is very important to remember. Just when you have installed Postgres, the default user has no password set, so you have to change that accordingly. The next thing that we have to configure is that Postgres is actually also listening on an IP address. As you can see, currently Postgres is just listening on localhost, and therefore the Postgres service is not accessible from outside the virtual machine. So what we are doing now in the next step is that we have to change the configuration file PostgreSQL.conf, which is stored in the folder etc PostgreSQL/18/main. I'm using here the text editor Nana. Let's search here for listen addresses, and as you can see, that configuration option is currently not used, so we just undocument it. And to make things easy and simple, I'm just using here the asterisk, which means that Postgres will accept incoming client connections from each network interface. Let's exit Nana, let's save the buffer, and now we have to restart Postgres so that that configuration change takes effect. So we do here again a systemctl restart PostgreSQL. We have to authenticate. I'm using here my password. Postgres is restarting. We can check now if Postgres is up and running by using the systemctl status command. Yes, it's active and running. And now we do again a sudo ss command, and as you can see, Postgres is listening now on all accessible IP addresses. 0.0.0.0 just means all network interfaces, means Postgres is now accessible from the outside world. The final last thing that we have to configure is now the PostgreSQL client authentication, means we have to specify which IP addresses, which subnet ranges are allowed to access our Postgres service. We make those changes in the pg_hba_conf file, and when we go down here, you see we have here plenty of documentation, and here you can specify now which hosts, which IP addresses are allowed to access your Postgres installation. Again, I'm making here things very, very simple. I'm not limiting anything, means we are just configuring here Postgres in a way so that every IP address around the whole world is able to access our Postgres installation. So this is not secure in any way, so please never ever do that in a production environment. This is here just a demonstration, nothing more. So let's save that, and again we need of course a restart of Postgres when we have touched a configuration file like the pg_hba_conf file. By now we have installed and configured Postgres so that Postgres is able to accept client connections from outside the virtual machine. So let's test that now. I'm using here tbeaver, which is my favorite tool when I'm working with Postgres. I have already configured here a connection for Postgres, so I'm just pointing here to the public IP address of my virtual machine, and as you can can see, we are now able to connect to that Postgres installation. We can run here a new SQL script, we just do very simple a show all command, and as you can see, we have a Postgres installation which is up and running. So as you have seen in that Postgres Quickie, the installation of Postgres is also very simple. More or less you're just doing a sudo apt install Postgres. Afterwards you make the few configuration changes that I have shown you, and then you have a Postgres installation which you can use for your database workload. So I hope that you have enjoyed that Postgres Quickie, and I'm already looking forward to see you very soon again when I will talk about other Postgres topics. Thanks for watching and have fun with Postgres. Thank you.